Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast, where we talk about why today's headlines are important for your success at work. My name is Peter Rahbar. I'm your first call on legal issues.
And I'm Laura Brounstein, your first call on comms and content. Hi, Peter.
Hey, Laura.
Week.
Oh, there you go. You keep adding to your title. You're like one of
Mm-hmm.
those power-hungry executives.
You know it.
Adding.
I'm just trying to grab all of the power there is with Across the Bar media.
Yeah, I mean, it's a frequent conversation I have with my clients. It's like, you got to get your title right before you enter the door. You don't want to be downgraded on title and then struggling to increase it because it's not going to happen.
That's
for some
true.
time.
Is that
So
wait? I mean, that wasn't on our list of topics, but since you brought it up, is that one of the things that people should spend time negotiating on before?
Absolutely, means a lot to
what
people.
About the school of thought that's like, I don't care what they call me, just give me the money?
Okay, if that's what you think, then I think I personally think you should be a little more invested in your career path, and title's important.
Okay.
So I wouldn't agree with that, but some people think that. I think it's kind of rare, but
okay, interesting.
Yeah. So sorry to just throw a topic out there.
Yeah, just throwing fastballs first thing.
But I did. I did. So what are we actually going to talk about
today? Are actually going to talk about some very important things. We are actually going to talk about the new hustle culture, 996. Some questions about what that can mean in terms of people's personal lives and schedules. A big, beautiful new building project, not the White House. It's in New York. And we're going to revisit the conversation about politics at work because it's about, in our town, to become quite relevant again in the next couple weeks.
Or maybe it already is.
Maybe it already is. Exactly. So when I saw the 996, all the 996 stories, I was like, how they just came up with another way to say works a lot. Like 996 means working 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. 9 to 9, 6 days a week.
Yeah, exactly.
9 to 9,
9
6
to
days
9, 6 days a week. Yeah, it's much more than 9 hours a day.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
9 hours a day used to be normal. Yeah. Look, yeah, I mean, there was the stories about the 996 that have been coming out over the past couple of weeks, and then there was a story today that we saw about AI companies in California where employees are just working around the clock, like more than 100-hour weeks. Credit card companies are reporting surges in weekend food ordering in San Francisco offices because
that is so interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of indicators, that people, at least in the AI space, are being asked to and quote, these employees were quoted saying they love working this much, and they feel like they're racing to solve the greatest issue facing our society, which is succeeding in AI and training new AI models. And so, look, we've talked a lot about return to office. Part of being in the office is FaceTime and, what expectations are from your bosses. And here we have the bosses saying, at least in certain industries, we're expecting you to be here all the time. And these AI companies, they're also paying these employees a lot of money.
That is over 100 hours a week. That is a lot. I remember when I was at WeWork, in the belly of the Adam Newman beast, I remember him talking about like working nonstop and how he would say, like, even my friend Elon Musk says, if you work more than 80 hours a week, it gets painful. Like, you have to sometimes, but it's hard to work more than 80 hours a week. So the fact that hustle culture is now like leaving that in the dirt, that was also around the time that we went around the WeWork buildings and took off all of the signs and light fixtures that referred to hustle culture. Because the company had a bad reputation for having a bro hustle culture. And so we went through every building on the comms team and took down the signs that were like hustle harder, or like how early can I get to work?
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
No.
It's not for everybody, and not everybody's being paid enough to work that hard. Frankly, these articles were centered around AI companies where people are being paid millions because AI data scientists or AI scientists, like, there's just a scarcity of them, and
Right.
it's a huge recruiting war, talent war. They're being paid hundreds of millions, if not billions, by some companies, and they're expected to work around the clock. And okay, that's not going to work for the average worker, who's being paid, in the 40,000s.
But
They're not working 100 hours a week.
But are they being are people making $40,000? Do you think being asked to work 100 hours a week the same way?
No. But these stories come out. Bosses read them and they say, "Oh, look, I could push my workers to work harder too." And so, if you're an executive and you're seeing these articles about AI companies working 100 hours a week, you shouldn't automatically think that employees are going to be accepting of this.
Yeah.
Right. And like with many things we've discussed here, you have to think about what's right for you and what's reasonable and what makes sense based on what you're paying people and what you actually need. And so, people don't like the FaceTime culture of just like being at work so someone could see you there or whatever. But, sometimes you have to put up with it. And if you're going into a company, you should understand what the culture is like. That's a big thing. I mean, I work with a lot of people who are going into new places where have clients, and we talk about the culture and what it's like. And, sometimes candidates don't care. Sometimes candidates care a lot.
We've talked about that. There are times in life where the hard remunerative job makes a lot of sense, and times where it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say at 70, at 80 at this point, like, I'm done. Like, when I was working, much more than that towards the end of the campaign last year, it was like,
it's rough. It's also rough. Yeah, it's rough if you want to have a life. And, it's funny.
I mean, I wasn't trying to have a life at that point. I was living in Wilmington. What life was I having? But I was.
Shout out to Delaware.
Shout out to all our fans in Delaware. I just wanted time to eat, sleep, and pet my cat once in a while. And that was tough.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you're not going to have it all at work. You hear a lot about people trying to have work-life balance and whatever. In some industries, you're just not going to have work-life balance, period. Like, it's not going to happen, no matter how hard you
here's a question. Do you still think that is an acceptable question to ask when you're being interviewed for a role? I don't know that it is.
What? Can I have a work-life balance?
I would say for the last 5 or so years, 6 years, everything when I interviewed for a role, and I hired lots of people during that time for big jobs, small jobs. No small jobs. I've hired lots of people for lots of jobs, and all of them, for the most part, said, "So, what's the work-life balance like here?"
I would not ask that question under any circumstances.
I would not ask it now. I mean, you used to be able to.
When? That would be a huge red flag to me if someone asked that question.
I would say from 21 to 23, you could ask that. No.
Okay. That's a very narrow window.
There were a couple years post-pandemic, pre-new Trump era, where people were very invested in, having a different kind of balance, and they'd realize things that mattered during COVID, yada, yada. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I was out of the corporate workforce at that point, so maybe I missed those interviews. But to me, obviously with my legal background, the law is not an industry where work-life balance really exists for most people. And when I was at a law firm, it definitely didn't exist. When I was in-house, it even didn't exist.
I would say towards the end in magazine land, people asked that. In 2018, people felt like they could say is there respect for work-life balance and boundaries?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's an appropriate question, and I don't think it's one
Daddy, you
that
don't
would
think it's an
reflect
appropriate
well.
question at
No,
all?
no, no. I mean, you're there to work. Like, you could ask something like, "What's the culture like here? What are the typical hours?" Things like
Yeah.
that. That's fine. There's different ways to get at it without asking something
So it's more
that,
semantic
yeah.
concern.
I mean, look, when you're in a job interview, you're interviewing for a job. So the question should really be about the job, not about your needs. is my view.
Yes,
So
but
you could,
I can understand if somebody is a parent and or has an aging parent. If someone is a caregiver for an aging parent or a child and knows that they have certain caregiving responsibilities that they will need to meet, they need to make sure they'll be able to do their job well and still meet those responsibilities.
yeah. And I think there's questions you can ask, but I would not go and ask, what's your respect for work life balance. I would say, what are the expectations? What are the typical hours? Questions about the what's your favorite thing about the culture here? What's
Well,
one thing
that's a
you
good
would
question.
improve
That's
about
a
the
good
culture
question.
here? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have
We
good
should do a
questions.
whole thing another time on interview questions. Like
Oh,
what to
that's
ask.
fun.
That would be a fun. All right, next week.
Maybe we could bring in like a recruiter. We've been talking
Oh,
about guests, so
we
you know
vetted one last week. A
we
recruiter.
did. We grilled the shit out of him.
Yeah,
I think by the end he was not interested in being a guest. I don't know.
he wasn't interested in us anymore as
Yeah,
friends.
yeah. He was off. See ya.
He left town.
Right.
He like got on a
Um,
train and left the city. Shout out to
so yeah. Um, well, let's be honest. One of the we talked about this a little bit last week, but it's on the list for today too. One of the ways, in addition to money, that companies are trying to get people to work longer and harder hours is building nice shiny new buildings, right? So
which is
we
so in some ways 2010 to me. Like 20, it's so like
2005 or
Hearst, yeah. Like when the Conde building went up and the Hearst Tower went up.
yeah,
And then I was about to say, and then the Apple campus. And many of these are Norman Foster. What is
great
the
architect. Shout out to Norman
similarity between
Foster.
these things? Norman
Yeah.
Foster.
Yeah,
Isn't that
look,
funny?
the
He
new
did
JP
Hearst,
Morgan.
Apple, and the JPMorgan building, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's and many others, I mean, he's amazing. He designs amazing buildings. But
Yes.
the
But there
JP
are very
Morgan
funny parts about where I love the Hearst Tower. I have such warm fuzzies for it.
Mhm.
But like you start to forget that it's not normal that everything is a triangle. Like,
Right.
you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like walls are
Diagrid.
slanted there.
Diagrid. Diagrid it's called.
What did you call it?
The Diagrid. That's the design of
I
the
didn't know that.
Norman Foster design, yeah, for these buildings. But the JP Morgan building officially opened. They had a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's giant. If you could look outside my window right now, you could see it. It fits almost all of their New York based employees, but not all. I think over 10,000 employees fit in the building or something.
Not
Has
all.
all
A
these
friend of mine
restaurants.
just got a great job there. They're so lucky to get her. And she is working in the building next door, she said.
Yeah, they don't have enough room already. So,
well, not all
that's too bad.
10,000 are in that space yet.
Right, but
Like
even
the
they have more
10,000 that are
employees
going
than
to
that.
work in the new building are not all in, right?
Right, but even after everyone's all in, there's some who won't fit.
I think we need someone to invite us to lunch there quickly. I would like to.
Well, I forgot to tell you this. I was just at a cocktail party with Jamie Dimon. I should have asked him for the lunch invite, but I
Did you
didn't.
forget to tell me about that cocktail party?
Yeah, sorry. It was a across the room thing. It would have been weird. But I've heard people say that this building feels like an airplane terminal, like an airport terminal, like a LaGuardia type situation. So we'll
Well, it
see. But
sounds like it. Like, can't you? I mean, the way I picture it, it's all like shiny with lots of stores and eateries. Like, that sounds like a
yeah, you could order
mall
coffee to your
or
desk.
terminal.
By
What?
the way, you could order coffee to your desk. Big feature.
I'm not mad at that. I would not be mad at
Yeah.
that. But you know what I would rather do? Sit in my cute apartment with my cute little tea thing in my
Yeah.
slippers.
Yeah. So look, buildings, new office spaces, we talked about this last week, are ways to get employees back into the office and say,
What? That's
look,
such an old school play. It's so like, we got great snacks and ping pong. Come
yes,
on over.
but look, if you're going to have people come in, you need to make sure you have nice spaces. It is a competitive thing amongst companies. It's obviously a massive ego thing for CEOs. I mean, Jamie Dimon now has the biggest, you know, corporate building in New York. I'm sure there's a personal element to that, and CEOs take a lot of
You so seldom
pride
see
in that.
men trying to build the tallest building like that, trying to
Right.
erect something into the
Yeah.
sky like that. You
Right.
never see powerful men trying to do that. It's funny.
Yeah. So weird.
Mhm.
Also, buildings build culture, and they help people understand the corporate identity in a very visible, tangible way. They can strengthen and transform corporate culture. So they play a lot of roles. This is a big one. It's very celebrated in New York. Obviously, Jamie Dimon is the number one advocate for bringing everyone back in the office and ridiculing everyone who thinks otherwise. So let's see how it goes, and helps in recruiting and other things. I mean, so well, good luck to them, and let's see how many more new buildings get built. Hopefully, a lot. That's good for New York.
Yeah, it is good for New York for new buildings to get built. And if you have to go back to the office, it's good for your company to invest in that office. I'll give it
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And there have been many times where I was working so hard on something and was dying for coffee and did not have time to take the elevator downstairs. So if one had arrived at my desk, I would have been thrilled.
Yeah. Although I have a pet peeve lately with these companies that are like, still promising free food or offering free food to their employees. And, sometimes it's maybe too much food. Like you shouldn't have overfeed your employees. Like, maybe have an eye towards like wellness and fitness and
I
all
think
that
that is a
as
funny
well.
concern. So wait, you're worried about
Yeah, I
bankers
am.
getting fat is our next concern?
I, I
Is that
didn't
one
say
of the things
fat.
on the
I
list
just
to
said,
worry about?
I said some of these companies overdo it. That's all. Just leave it at
Yeah.
that.
I'm pushing back on that. They also make it a hell of a lot easier to eat healthy. Like I ate much more healthily when I had a lovely cafeteria downstairs in the Hearst Cat Tower than I did working in a building where I had to fend for my own lunch.
Fend for your own lunch. You mean you had to go get it?
Yeah. Like you're more likely to just get something out of a vending machine if you are in a rush than go down and get a salad. I
Right.
think having I don't agree with you on that.
Okay. It's good. We
Did you
can
belong to the
disagree. It's
gym
healthy.
first?
Did I what?
Well, oh, you know what we've never talked about? Going to the office gym. Something I have never done and never plan to do ever. Did
Oh
you
boy.
in the Hearst Tower?
I can't believe you're bringing this up this week. I This is a whole separate topic. I think we should talk about this next week because I think this is a good topic. And I've heard some stories this week that are just making me laugh about it. But
Really? All right. So next
yeah,
week we're going to talk about interview questions. And should you, everybody, actually, if anybody's listening to this, let us know if you like working out in your office building
yeah,
gym.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Oh, I bet. Okay. Okay. So there was a question in the Times that I thought was so interesting. Someone was saying that their boss expects everybody to be in the office for 7 a.m. meetings. And
it's just disgusting.
That is horrible. And this person is like, I then will not see my children ever. I no longer think I have a new boss that's asking for this. I don't think I can do this job anymore. But is there any way, you said you can't ask for work-life balance, but saying, like, what's out of bounds? Like, in an emergency, nothing is, in my opinion. Really. Most things aren't. But are regular 7 a.m. meetings kind of like, yeah, that's cool, that's what we do now? Like, would you, by the same token, have regular 10 p.m. meetings every day? When not in a crisis period. Again, going into an event, a crisis, you do what you got to do.
Right. And also you have to consider the needs of the business. So there may be a need and a legitimate reason to have a 7 a.m. meeting every day or once a week or whatever. And hopefully if you're the one setting these
7 a.m. every day, unless you're a shift worker, that is terrible.
Well, look, I mean, there are a lot of executives I know, clients otherwise, who are always in around that time. And, one of the traits of highly successful people that's often cited is, starting their days very early and capturing that time in the morning. Doesn't mean there aren't successful people who don't do that. Okay. I just want to be very, very clear. I mean, there are others who feel like, the first 2 hours a day are yours and you got to use them for exercise and meditation and reflection and family time or whatever. I would just say if you're going to do something like that, which, 7 a.m., 10 p.m., those are just sort of outside of traditional work hours, there needs to be a justification for it. It shouldn't just be because you like it that way. I mean, if you have a business that has
can you say something to HR? Like if your new boss suddenly starts asking that?
Well, I think the first step is to talk with your boss about it. And if there is something other than just, I don't like waking up early, then you should talk with them about it. If there's a childcare issue it presents or some other issue, then you should be able to have a conversation with your boss about it. And hopefully they can be receptive and understanding of it. If that doesn't work, then yes, it probably would be something that you would take to HR, because if it's that disruptive to your life and difficult to frankly make it, then it should be something that is raised to that level. But the reality is, bosses are allowed to make the rules. And as long as they're making the rules consistently across the board, if everyone's required to come to that meeting.
As a general counsel, is there a meeting time that you would caution bosses and say, you might get into some hot water with that? Like if it's an office job, if people are like, all right, 5 a.m. meeting every day.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of that. But
when I was at Good Morning America, we had 5 a.m. meetings every day.
But that's,
the show started at 7.
Yeah, the show comes on.
Yeah.
I've worked with news people who work on morning shifts and overnight. I've negotiated overnight shift provisions, etc. I would just say, like, to any boss setting times for meetings, like, you need to understand who's on your team and what their schedules are and what the demands on their time are. I mean, a lot of bosses don't pay attention to that. And it's one of the things that workers at whatever level they are hate the most about their bosses, is not respecting their time. And the only priority is the boss's time, particularly if you work for someone who's like a narcissist in particular. They're not going to care for your time at all. There's going to be no respect for your time or your needs. So my advice to an executive wouldn't be around, specific times you should or shouldn't have meetings. It would be, are you being respectful of the time of the people on your team? That's what you should be thoughtful of in these situations.
I will say, as somebody who doesn't have children and was single or, didn't have children, wasn't like coming home to her family every day necessarily. My bosses who were moms and would be like, I'm leaving early, but I'm leaving at 5, but I'm getting right back online, as soon as I put the kids to bed. They would often come online just as I would finally leave the office and go out for dinner. Like I would leave the office, let's say like 8-ish, and be like, time to go out for dinner and have a drink. And that was exactly when, let's say, whoever I was working for at that moment had put their kids to bed and was like, okay, now we're working. And it was so
let's lock it in.
Infuriating that like, oh, so you can leave at 5. I was here till 8. It wasn't even necessarily bosses sometimes. It was just like people with a different lifestyle. Maybe even,
Well, some would say maybe you should have had your drink at 5 and been prepared to work at 8. I mean, you sometimes you certainly need to understand as a worker what your boss's habits and timing habits are. Just as I said, bosses should understand what their workers' habits are.
Have we ever talked about
communication is part of that.
I had one boss, I won't even say where, that when he started, he sent out to all, I can't remember whether it was all of his direct reports or his entire team. I think it was like his direct reports and one level down from the direct reports. A 2-page introduction to him with his like preferences, habits.
I've seen those.
The movies he likes, about his family, how important X or Y is to him. And it to this day makes me laugh. This wasn't just like a hey, this, and this. Great, let's get to work. This was like a 2.5 page memo about me. And it was, to me, the most like tech bro with a big job, ego stroking, hilarious thing.
I've seen it beyond tech bros. I saw one recently that was like 6 pages long, and all I could think was, how do you have time?
I would advise against this, people. If you get a big new job, I would advise against this. I think it
might send the wrong impression.
Silly.
Yeah.
If you want to send an email to your direct reports or in a meeting, be like, listen, my door is always open. If I shoot you an email late at night, doesn't mean you need to respond. Open, if you need me quickly, text, don't email, like a couple like basic like best practices for, easiest, least friction way to work together. Sure. But
wild.
Sending like a mini autobiography,
it's just a lot.
Giving people things to make fun of.
It's a lot.
So people are still doing that. That's hilarious.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of a woman doing it? I never have.
Huh.
I think this is
a good question. I don't know. I'm sure there are women who do it too.
All right. If anyone has ever had a woman do that to them, let us know, because I've only heard of it or seen it with, for me, a certain kind of male boss. But
yeah. You don't think Anna Wintour has a list like that? I'm pretty sure she does.
Oh, she doesn't send it out though.
Someone does. I mean, I've seen assistants send it out on actually, now that you mention it, I have seen assistants send
best
it
working
out.
practices, not FYI.
I mean, I've seen assistants with
movie series.
I've seen assistants with binders about how to work with a certain executive and all their preferences, including how they should be greeted and all that stuff. I mean, binders. And the bosses,
you're talking about
male and female.
Low CEO.
Yes. But look, a good executive assistant will know all those things.
Okay, so I will admit, my assistant from Cosmo, I think back in the day, was the first one that did this. I had an assistant at Cosmo who put together on her own a care and feeding of Laura Brounstein.
Oh, wow.
One-pager that she sent to my next assistant, and then that assistant sent it to the next one. And it was deeply hilarious. Okay. It was like, if we're not making money from it, no meetings before 10, which I still agree with. If you're paying me money for the meeting anytime, or if money will come from the meeting anytime. Otherwise, especially in magazine land, there was no reason to have it before 10.
Yeah, exactly.
All
right, so we have one more topic for today.
Okay. You didn't want to hear all of my preferences? All right.
I definitely don't want to get into your list. I think that would be a whole
I would like your list, Peter.
Oh, God. No, you don't. So politics in the workplace. I
Yes.
think this one could be pretty quick. Don't do it.
So obviously, we've
Don't
talked
talk
about
about
this
politics.
before, but more with national context. I just think this is a good time to remind people that it is highly unlikely that you have any idea how the person sitting next to you is going to be voting in the mayoral election in New York next week or in 2 weeks. And I think that this is one that people will make offhand remarks and offend the person sitting next to them very easily. And so maybe I think people should put out a note to their leaders, not the whole workplace, but to their leaders to say, like, try to keep this from being in the workplace. What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, in this environment, we've talked about it repeatedly in a lot of different contexts. Talking about politics in work is a bad idea. Companies are very sensitive to how they're portrayed publicly, and if a statement you make gets put out on X or TikTok or whatever, it could have repercussions for the company, and that could be very bad for the company and could mean the end of your job. It's just not
But
worth
also,
it.
don't say shit in the workplace either.
Yes.
Like, it's not just don't post it. It's like, don't at lunch be like,
right.
So how about that?
Right. And I will say, and I said it before, but I will emphasize it now. There are people out there looking to goad others into making these statements, or at least looking to hunt down these statements and to just make them as public as possible and shame people and get them fired. And I think it's despicable, but these people exist. They're doing it. And you just don't want to be anywhere near that. When you're at work, just as much as possible, keep it about work. I don't even think it's a smart idea to talk a lot about your personal life at work. Like, I would just keep it very close, play it very close to the vest, particularly around politics. And if you're a manager,
but I think if you are someplace that you are working 80 to many hours a week, you end up talking about your personal life, and studies show having a best friend at work makes you more productive and work harder.
Yeah. Let's be honest though. If you're working 100 hours a week, you have no personal life to talk about. No one wants to hear about it. What are you doing? You're like going home, brushing your teeth, and coming back. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Like, maybe you're flirting with the guy down the hall.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, look, it's like there's plenty of places to talk about politics.
Making fun of the guy down the hall. Like, I think having a best friend at work, a work wife or husband, is so important.
Okay, but keep it limited to work stuff, and I have the same.
Oh my God,
advice.
So happy with this. Did people like you at work?
People love me at work, I think. I don't know. People can comment. I think they did like me at work, and I did. Look, we could do a deep dive on this, but I don't think the benefit of like opening up personally at work outweighs the cost in certain situations. You just never know when it's going to be used against you.
Okay, you don't want a paper trail ever. But having one person that you can confide in, studies show is so valuable. You work harder, you do a better job at work, and maybe don't have 10 close confidants. But like, I think having one close person, you have their back, they have yours.
Back against what? If your boss wants to fire you, they're going to save you?
Wives. I had so many work wives and husbands and boyfriends.
Okay. I mean, fine. I'm not saying like it doesn't work for people. I'm just saying
a funny side thing. Yesterday or the day before, I was on a group chat where somebody was talking about a problem a friend of hers was having at work, where it's a clinic. She's the senior person, but the people working there, she said, were reading erotic passages to one another in the workplace and
don't do that. Don't do that.
And I said, obviously, unless you work at Cosmo, don't do that. Because that was literally my job for a while at Cosmo, was editing erotic literature.
Yeah,
so
great.
That was
not appropriate for anyone else.
What?
Not appropriate for anyone else.
No, but that was just, it so made me laugh how the rules at certain places are so different. Like, we would have to say to people for interviews at Cosmo, like, are you going to be comfortable talking about sexuality? Because that is what
the magazine and if job like that, it's important to disclose that in an interview and ask that. So
yeah.
All right, so if heroes and zeros.
Running a product magazine, you can ask that in the interview.
Yeah, exactly. Feminist. Heroes and zeros. And zeros. You have any?
Oh my God, I have such a big zero.
Okay, go ahead.
People are talking about a lot of issues in the mayoral campaign. I'm going to tell you the real issue. Yesterday, I had to drive to New Jersey to my aunt. And I get in my car and the low oil light is on when I turn it on. And I look up what that means. And it's like, don't drive a car like this. There's something really wrong. So I'm like, I call, I didn't know what to do. I thought I just needed oil, but I called my roadside assistance through Geico. Thank you. And the guy came and he looked. He's like, oh, let me just look for you. He's like, there's plenty of oil. He picks up the hood. He's like, oh, I see what happened here.
Uh-oh.
You see all those footprints on your engine? Rats have been in your car eating the wires because it was parked on the streets of New York City. This is a problem.
Yeah.
Footprints all over the inside of my car. And there was oil, just the wire going to the thing wasn't relaying that information because of how much it had been eaten by certain small, furry New York City residents.
Yeah, it's a thing. Rats hide in cars parked on the streets. You know, whether it's in New York or elsewhere.
Tisch basically won the mayor's debate last night because it was the only thing everyone could agree on is how wonderful Jessica Tisch is, which I fully agree with. When she was rat czar, there were less rats for a minute. I don't know what's happening right now.
Well, Adams was at the Knicks game with Cuomo, so he wasn't fighting the rats. That's tough. I'm sorry. That's a tough one.
Did you know where I was going with it immediately?
Definitely didn't. About halfway through, I picked it up. I know. So bad.
Also, my cats in the car half the time. Why didn't that scare them off? Whatever. Okay. What are yours?
Well, I had a very light one planned, but then, these ice raids happened. The seriousness
of mine inspired you?
Yeah. Well, then the ice raids on Canal Street happened 2 days ago in New York, where, a young member of Turning Point USA did a video over the weekend about, quote, migrants who, are selling counterfeit purses on Canal Street. And then boom, 2 days later, ICE shows up and goes after. If you've lived in New York, you've seen the people selling purses on.
You have to live in New York if you've ever been to New York.
Or selling a variety of different things on Canal Street. I mean, people come to New York for that. Frankly, I don't support counterfeiting, but I also don't think the penalty should be kicking people out of the country, or locking them up in facilities without access to lawyers. It's a very sad moment. And so, as a New Yorker,
that woman who came out of her office and started trying to fight ICE
yeah,
off.
I mean, kudos to the New Yorkers who resisted.
Yep.
It's a shame. I mean, just random people. There was a video of just a black person from Brooklyn getting arrested and assaulted. I mean, it's disgusting. So that's something I just can't shake the images of that, as someone who walks down Canal Street and, knows it well and knows that there's no threat from any of these people.
No.
All right. Heroes.
You know what? I don't really have a good one this week. So I'm just going to go with, I'm glad so many of these latter-day Nazis are also morons and write about it on public.
Oh my God.
I appreciate how dumb so many of these, next gen Nazis are. Just keep writing on public platforms, kids. And we'll keep keeping you from getting hired ever again.
Yeah. That's also sad. Well, you turned the hero into a sad thing.
Sorry. They're so dumb.
Yeah, I have a hero that's like kind of. I'll just you got to take a little ride with me on this one. So there was a big jewelry heist at the Louvre this past weekend,
Oh my
which
god, all the cat memes just kill me. With have you seen the ones with like the
yeah,
cat as the cat burglar? I died.
right. So it's kind of an old school story that people like get into, like a
Oh, is
jewelry
Rene
heist,
Russo going to
like
be the hero of this story?
never happened. No, the hero is just heist movies. I love heist movies, and
Oh,
I would say like it's a good time to fire up a heist movie.
so Rene Russo
And
is the hero of this story.
well, depends which heist movie you like.
Thomas Crown Affair.
Some top ones
Did
for
you think she
me.
was
Thomas
super
Crown
sexy?
Affair's good one. Is that one of your favorites? Is that what you have?
That
I
is
was
my
going to
favorite.
give some of my favorites.
What's your favorite?
Heat, Point
Oh,
Break, The Town, all
Point
excellent.
Break. I love Point Break. The original.
Watch Point Break recently. Holds up really well. Heat's
A
classic
good
movie.
doubleheader with Roadhouse.
Yeah, Heat's
Point Break and Roadhouse.
potentially coming back with a sequel, so we'll see. Anyway, fire up
Who
a
was
good
in
heist movie.
Wait, the Ocean's movies didn't make your list at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, you could do a whole segment on this. I'm just highlighting a few that I really love. The Ocean's movies sort of lost me a little bit, but the original one is great.
The original one is great. I enjoyed the Julia Roberts one was good too. And then heist movies are fun. I agree with you. That was a good one, Peter.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so another action-packed episode wrapped up.
Thank you, Sadie Rahbar, for producing. Thank you, Peter Rahbar, for coming with such interesting topics and opinions and information. As
Same
always.
to you. Thank you. Send me your binder. I want to see how I could better, be a better partner to you. Okay. But thank you, everyone, for watching.
Does Mrs.
and
Rahbar
listening.
have a binder on you?
Oh, that's a good question. I should ask her. I don't think so. But...
Okay.
All right. Thanks for watching and listening across the bar. We'll see you next week.